Welcome back to SRIDHAR Property Matters. It's now time to visit a beautiful home in the city, and what better place to look for one than on the East Coast Road. We're right now at Chitralaya, one such beautiful home, but not much can be told of it from this side of the towering brown wooden gates. It's a good thing that Sanjay, Lakshmi and their family has invited us inside. When people build a house or move to a new one, they usually are uncertain about a lot of things. Most of all, what their new home should look like. But when Sanjay and his family moved, this wasn't the case.
My mother-in-law and my husband were responsible for this whole planning, and they kind of visualized the whole thing as to what should be where and everything. And yeah, it just turned out well. They wanted a lot of empty space. They didn't want too many rooms or take up the entire the ground space and everything. So there's lots of empty space, as you can see around.
When the family moved from cluttered, chaotic T Nagar to the tranquility of Blue Beach Road off ECR in 2003, Lakshmi was uncertain about the change. But it is said that uncertainty and mystery are energies of life that are not meant to scare one, but are merely there to keep boredom at bay and spark creativity. On stepping inside Chitralaya, one will realize that the move certainly did this. Standing over 5.25 grounds, this 6,000 square feet house is a mix of styles. At first glance, the house looks mostly traditional with detailed woodwork and the elaborate upholstery in the rooms. Even some of the pieces in the house have a traditional touch to them. A good example is the lantern in the alcove. Mrs. SRIDHAR inherited this century-old piece from her grandmother, and it reminded me of a bejeweled crystal bowl that threw soft shadows across the ceiling.
There are two pot hangers, those are the antique pieces. I bought them from one of the shops in Mysore. So, he himself is a collector. He never wanted to give that. He wanted to sell it, but he never wanted to part with that, poor thing. But I liked them so much, so I just bought those two pieces.
On closer examination, there are hints of the contemporary peeking through. The open-to-sky courtyard right in the center of the house with a riot of green is almost like an extension of the well-kept garden outside. The painting on the walls of the courtyard is Bihari folk art called Madhubani and was a gift for the house from Sanjay's sister. The rest of the house too is very airy and open. This effect is amplified as the living and dining areas are enclosed in beveled glass. The sit-out in front of the house is yet another example. Here one can enjoy the sea breeze coming in and the view of the large garden around the house. The lotus pond and the blue-tiled fish pond all contribute to giving the place the one with nature feel. Good thing too for Sanjay and his son Vishnu are environment enthusiasts.
My first memory of this house is something I can look back on 10 years from now and think about it. As soon as I moved in, I called a few of my friends over. And few of them started going a little hyper because they had too much coke, and I think they smashed one of my grandmom's vases. And I remember all of us standing in a line, and my grandmom with asking who did it.
The house is named Chitralaya after Mrs. SRIDHAR's late husband's production house and is very befitting as there are artworks all over the house. Apart from the family members being creative themselves, they also have a keen eye for beautiful objects. Not surprising that Mrs. SRIDHAR has found some very unique objet d'art to put in her home.
I've been traveling a lot. Wherever I go, I just pick up one thing at least, as a souvenir it has to, please my eye. It's not that I got this from America, that from London, this big piece. Even if it's a small piece, I must like it and it must please my eye.
Past the lush green courtyard, on the left is the main living area. This place has heavily upholstered sofa sets with traditional patterns of vines and flowers. The central piece in the room is the large lotus pond picture. This piece has a metallic, three-dimensional look to it due to the palette knife technique used. The shade of golden brown and the lighter speckles to highlight the raindrops has a very calming effect on the beholder. The effective lighting also adds to the mood of the room. The dining area was originally meant to overlook an aviary and has a bird theme to it, hence the silk bird tapestry and the bird wall hangings. The dull green in the room complements this. The watercolor on the granite panels was done by one of Mrs. Sridhar's friends. The dining table and chairs are very traditional and gives the room a slight Victorian touch, while the granite basin reminds one of other European styles like Greek and Roman.
Behind me in these cabinets are some of Mrs. Sridhar's most prized possessions. A few of these pieces here are over half a century old.
A dinner set, which even before I got married and came to he had it. My husband had it in his house. That's an English dinner set.
Her love for the arts is most evident in Mrs. Sridhar's painting collection. She has many, some of them replicas of paintings by famous artists like Ravi Varma and François Pascal Simon Gerard. Apart from these, there are other pictures and paintings both on the ground and top floors. Tapestries from Vietnam and China, pictures of the Civil War from the United States, a sand painting of the Buddha in different stages of life, and one of a very oriental-looking Saraswati from Bali. From the ground floor, the stairs lead up to the mezzanine floor. The bright floral painting bordering the window across the courtyard and the sandstone railings from Rajasthan are the main highlights here. Mrs. Sridhar herself made these tantra paintings which have involved hours of work. Up here there are 4 bedrooms, a terrace, the puja room and the family room. The family room is dimly lit and has a large traditional entertainment unit. This room also includes a minibar with a 5 feet long fish tank. Here too there are many works of art. Every piece or painting in the house is a record of the different places Mrs. Sridhar has been to. This home is a perfect blend of heart and art.
The only thing I want to really change or incorporate would probably want soundproofing my son's room because it's extremely noisy. Otherwise, I would not want to change anything in this place. It's a perfect place to live.
Mrs. Sridhar has tastefully displayed the different treasures from all her travels all over the house. I have my favorite. It's black, coming all the way from Thailand, and is covered in what seems to be carefully chiseled ringlets and has all the characteristics that's indicative of an 18th century collectible from the Renaissance period. Curly, the Kerry Blue Terrier, has all the makings of a beautiful object. If only he stood still sometimes. But in this house full of treasures from far and wide, it is Curly that brings the greatest joy.
As dusk falls, the women in the house light up the Diwali lamps. Chitralaya is enveloped in a warm golden glow, all set for the festivities. Up next on Suryadev Property Matters, a roundup of the Property Plus living spaces and the Metro Plus home decor fair that took place last week.